This is Starcast, the official podcast of your Billingham Stars. Watch and listen for the very latest news and interviews from within the Big Red Machine.
Goals, milestones, and records, all here to talk about on Starcast, the official podcast of your Billingham Town Council sponsor, the Billingham Stars. Thanks for joining us for this episode 14. I'm delighted to be joined by Carol and Jono as usual. Evening, guys. Thanks for coming along.
Evening.
Evening.
The only thing better than talking about hockey is talking about it more than once a week. Let's crack on. With plenty to talk about. 2 games for the Billingham Stars, 2 big wins, a busy and an important weekend ahead. And we also got a great interview coming up as well. We talked a couple of weeks ago about the playoff competition, bringing the North and the South together. So we delve into NIHL South Division 2. And we've got a great interview with the Cardiff Canucks Director of Hockey, Trevor Hendrikx. That's coming up later on. A couple of bits of news before we get into things. We mentioned last week in the Leeds game, the penalty to Ben Greenhalgh, and that was assessed by the Department of Player Safety. Ben's picked up a 4-game suspension. The first 2 games were the weekend just gone. So Ben misses the next 2 games before we're back in action. And also it was just announced last night, Tommy Spraggan, also from the Stars Blue Line, on a 2-way with the Hull Seahawks of the National Division. But that's only when he doesn't play for the Billingham Stars. So we've got Tommy first dibs. Just a quick one on Tommy. We've said quite a bit this season how good he is for us, and he deserves a chance at a higher level. He had the chance with Leeds, possibly didn't get the look in he wanted. So going to somewhere like Hull where he will get the opportunities. Carol?
Oh yeah, I mean he's probably too good for our level, I'd say. But delighted that he's part of our setup, and delighted that he's getting his chance. I'm delighted that we still get first dibs. So it's best of all worlds, really.
Yeah. And I know that somebody was talking to Matty Davies, and Matty's very excited to have Tommy Spraggan and the form he's in this year. Jono, he's well worth that shot at the higher level.
Absolutely, and he'll certainly get a chance in that whole roster. Defensively, they aren't their strongest compared to what they have up forward. So Tommy will get a chance to show his skills and, his leadership skills as well, as he's took the air over the last few weeks as well.
Yeah, but we are delighted that he's first call on the Billingham Stars. So obviously a busy period coming up before the end of the year, as we've talked about before, and no doubt we'll do again today. Last week also we left a little teaser on the table when we talked about the squad that Billingham looked like they were going to ice in Leeds. Had 2 pairs of brothers, the Dowdalls and the Wakefields. In the end, Joe Dowdall didn't play, but the question was still posed, and we had quite a few responses, Carol, and people were putting things in the threads and having a good guess, and some are going back probably a bit too far into Billingham history.
I didn't mind that really, because I saw loads of brothers that I totally forgot about. So thank you to everybody who responded, because there was some blasts from the past that I'd certainly forgotten about. I do believe we had one person who guessed correctly, but regardless, it's always a bit of fun, isn't it? Just having a bit of getting the old memory cogs turning and trying to remember how far back you can and how many pairs of brothers have played for Billingham, and it is quite a few. But everybody listening who really, really, really wants to know, the right answer was Andy and Richie Thornton and Callum and Marty Davies. So well done to the. I saw one person get it right, and my apologies if it was more than one, but well done.
Yeah. And Tip brothers is a thing in North East hockey. Obviously, there was the brothers who played for the team in blue up the road, who we don't talk about. But brothers are a bit of a thing. And Jono, I think you want to kind of expand on the brothers thing, because in the research that you were doing, when I just left a throwaway line last week, you found that it could have been a time when there was more than 2 sets of brothers in a team.
Yeah, well, when Carol first dropped the question on us on the way to Leeds, we racked our brains, and unfortunately, we did forget one or two brothers that may have played for us. So when we got our answer, we looked into various different rosters, and in 2004-05 season, the roster has named 4 sets of brothers, and we got us thinking: did all 4 sets of brothers actually play in a single game with each other at all that year? And I'll go through those brothers with you now. Look at my list. So it's Gary and Rob Dowd. It is Lee and Andy Fletcher. The Pritchard brothers, Phil and Steve, and Richie and Andy Thornton. All named in the same roster. We just don't know if they ever played a game together.
Yeah. So we've kind of give you one answer, but we've set you another little teaser, and we will set you another teaser later on as well. But if anybody's got any programs or things from that season, if you want to look into your attics and what have you, if anybody can let us know if all 4 sets of brothers ever did suit up in the same game for a Billingham team, or even 3 sets of brothers, would be good to know. So you can let us know on the thread here on the Facebook. Drop us a line on the Stars social media, or you can email Starcast at Billingham Starcast at their email address, starcast@morse74.co.uk. Yeah, anybody can shed some light on that. That Rob Dowd fella, that he's gone on to nothing since he left Billingham as well, isn't he? He's done all right. We'll mention him later as well in our any other business section. But thanks to everybody who give a guess on the trivia. We'll set you another teaser later on, as I say. Time to talk about some hockey from the weekend, and you may be pleased to know we aren't going to go through all of the goals individually from both of the games, because we want to keep this under 2 hours if we can. But yeah, Saturday, first of a home doubleheader for the Billingham Stars, and the Widnes Wild made a quick trip back to Teesside. They were here just a fortnight or so ago. And it was a kind of a rearranged game. It was late into the fixture list, and Widnes didn't turn up with a full roster. And although Billingham didn't have a full roster either, they put their visitors to the sword. Michael Elder opened the scoring after 3.5 minutes, and basically Michael Elder just didn't stop scoring all night, and neither did the Billingham Stars. 15-2 was your final score, and that lineup, I said, Michael Elder finished with 7 goals and 4 assists. Ian Brown, as Ian Brown does, 4 goals and 3 assists. And Chris Sykes, 1 goal and 7 assists on the night for Chris Sykes. Imagine being 1+7 and not being the top scorer in a game. Sykesy, we'll give him a mention again in a moment again for a milestone. But Michael Elder, a fantastic performance. Carol missed this one thanks to the vagaries of Christmas travel, early Christmas travel problems. So we'll get Carol's views from a social media angle in a minute. But Jono, if you want to kick us off with this one, then as I say, Stars started scoring early and just didn't stop.
Yeah, I think we were probably all expecting it. I don't want to go too hard on the Widnes team because they're getting it off their own fans at the moment. So I don't really want to go down that road and say what it was all about from their point of view. But I think from our point of view, only 4 D men, so controlling the game was a massive thing. And like we say, we did that really early. Mikey got us on the board very early. Never really looked back. But the good thing is our intensity didn't stop. We still played our game. We moved the puck fast and took the chances when they came along. And Mikey had pretty much of a golden night.
Yeah. And we mentioned the D as well. I say just 4 sets of four D men. Just rotating all night, but even they got in on the act. Tommy Sprague, as we mentioned earlier, he had 1 goal and 3 assists. James Helens had 4 assists. So they were chipping in at the offensive end as well. But just rotating the D, and Mark Turnbull as well getting minutes, which is only going to be a help for later in the season. So he got another full game under his belt, Jono. So the back end, although the offense is going to get all the plaudits, the back end were fantastic all night as well.
Yeah, and they allowed the offensive teams and the offensive line to go and do what they want. And to be fair, the way Richie's got the lads playing, they all jump in, jump up top and have lads covering for each other anyway. So that's good from the back end. But Mark getting minutes, getting a full game is absolutely huge. He had to do it for us last year, which was integral to win as a championship. and it'll be massive again this year. We've got some big games coming up, a huge running, and Mark's got a big part to play on that if we want to retain the title.
Yeah. As you say, Carol, we were following on socials. Did your battery almost full every time you're getting the goal notifications? But I say a great result, but that result getting the goals on the Widnes Wild.
Yeah, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but yeah, I wasn't particularly surprised by the result. Possibly wasn't expecting 15, but and like Jono said, don't really want to beat down on Widnes too hard, because I have noticed, and certainly I noticed on Saturday and worse on Sunday after they got beat at home, their own fans have started to turn on them, and that's not great. You know, every team goes through these times. Every team. It's not even that long ago that it was us. And you kind of need your fans behind you to see you through sticky times and bad times. So yeah, I was really pleased. Obviously, watching the scores coming through, but and I have said already that Widnes are the worst team I've seen this year. But they don't need to hear it from me. They need to regroup. They need a miracle from somewhere, and they need their fans behind them.
Yeah. And a bit of a blast from the past as well. The backup goalie for Widnes, Logan Reed, started, who played the game 2 weeks ago. He got pulled after 5 goals. And for those who remember the Manchester Minotaurs of NIHL 1 back in the day, Paul Maudsley taking the net for the Widnes Wild. He played 45, nearly 46 minutes. And just to match that, Billingham fed him with 46 shots. Carol, one from the past for yourself, seeing Maudsley in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, he's a rec hockey goalie these days, so he probably needed some time to get back up to speed, but and it's never easy, is it? If it doesn't matter whether you're an N1 goalie or not, if regularly or not, if you've been kind of put in cold like that, you're going to need some time to get your eye in, and unfortunately the Stars never gave him that, did they? So a shot, more than one shot every minute is not good for anybody. So kudos to him though. All the plaudits to Paul Maudsley for sticking at it and facing the rubber that he did.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, Jono, at our end, Mark Turnbull, only 23 shots on him, but made some important saves when called upon, and as we've already said, he'll be called upon over the next few weeks to step into the breach and give Jacob a break now and then. So important for him to get another full game.
Absolutely, as well. And I think one of the thing with netminded as well, it's not how many saves they make, it's the timing of the saves. You could be cruising in a game and it still be 0-0, and your netminder not have a lot to do, and then all of a sudden a shot's on you, and you want him to be able to make that big save as and when it comes along. Like I say, it's not about the amount he saves, and it's more when he makes them can make a difference for a team. And he did that on Saturday. I think there was 1 or 2 chances that did come along in the first period, and he stood tall, kept them out, and helped the offensive to go on the attack that they did.
Yeah, no, it was a solid performance for the full 60. And obviously Mikey gets the plaudits, got the man of the match, 7 goals, 4 assists. Which kind of comes to our other teaser that we were going to get in. Again, it's just a throwaway line from Saturday. When was the last time somebody scored more than 10 points in a game? So, Starcast listeners and viewers, when was the last time somebody scored 10 points in a game for a Billingham team? I've already seen somebody on social media putting a game from the 80s. I think we scored 20 on Richmond, was it? Richmond Flyers?
Richmond Flyers was 42-0, I think.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So there was some big scores on that one. But again, anybody who's got stats and programs back from you automatically, for points, you automatically think Hendrikx, don't you? So back in the day, so if somebody can rack their archives and just a throw away anybody, and this is the one we don't know the answer to. Hands up on that one.
I might cheat and text Patrice and see if he knows how many goals he scored in a game.
Patrice, did you ever score more than
Yeah, he probably did.
But no, that was a huge night for Mikey, and we obviously spoke to him in the post game, and nights like that only come along once in the blue moon. So he felt like everything he touched turned into a goal either for him or for somebody else. At the other end, as you said, Sykesy had 8 points and wasn't the top scorer. But those 8 points do put Chris third all time in Billingham scoring. He moves past Andy Fletcher, one of the brothers we mentioned earlier. And he's closing in on second place, which is Andre Marlowe. So he's on 500 after the end of the weekend. I think he's on 533, and he's only 546 behind Spike in first place. He was just a little bit away in front of everybody else.
70 points a season for the next 8 years, and he might get somewhere near.
He might get there. Or just 3 or 4 witness games a year, it'll be fine. I mean, a 10-point weekend's not going to happen every weekend. It would be nice if it did. But just a quick one. I know we said about a piece on socials. The graphic went up this morning for Sykes' achievement, but as I think as was already said, ever since he's joined Billingham, all he's done is score Jono, and that's continued. And to be third all time in a club like Billingham is a huge achievement.
Yeah, it's absolutely remarkable. A fantastic player, fantastic scorer, an out-and-out sniper, especially when he first came to the club. I remember him playing for the Sting and pestering him, knowing that he had family connections to the area, so it wouldn't be too big of a move to the club. Eventually, he did come along, and just from his first game, I don't think he's ever stopped scoring. I believe it's one season where he was outscored, which was by an import, which you'd kind of expect. But yeah, absolutely remarkable, and there's no signs of him slowing down.
No, and that's it, Carol. He's produced at a fair pace throughout his time on Billingham's roster, and now he's a huge part of the leadership group and a huge part of the club going forward. And I say he's settled here, and long may he continue.
Absolutely. I was really pleased to see the reaction on socials today, actually, because I think everybody realises just how valuable he's been since he joined the club. He's been an integral part of any success that we've had since he's been here. Maybe Spike's record is beyond him unless he plays until he's mid-50s or something. But Spike played in a different era. And to a certain extent, so did Andre, and he's definitely going to get Andre's second place at some point in the very near future. So what can you say? It's just amazing. He's fully deserves all of the congratulations that he's been getting. Yeah.
So it's Paul Windridge at 1,079 points, which is just obscene. And then Andre 533, and then Chris now after this weekend 516, just overtaking Andy Fletcher, who was on 509. He was 3 points behind Fletch before the weekend, and as you said, he had a 10-point weekend against Widnes and Hull. Anything more on the Widnes game before we move on to Sunday night? No, that sounds good. Then on to Sunday we roll. The second of a home doubleheader for the Billingham Stars. Hull Jets, their first visit to Teesside after 2 successful trips down to the Hull Arena for the Billingham Stars. Hull took a lead against the run of play in the first period, and then after that, normal service was resumed. Finished 6-1 to the Billingham Stars. A couple of goals for Callum Wilkinson, which is nice to see. A couple of goals for Ian Brown because, of course, Rowley and Michael Elder finishing the scoring for the Billingham Stars. Jacob played the net for this one. 1 goal on 35 shots. And Brandon Stones had the full game for the Hull Jets. And keeping the shot a minute thing of the weekend. Nearly did it for Brandon. 58 shots in the 60 minutes on Brandon Stones. So he made 52 saves. Some good ones as well, keeping Billingham at bay. Carol, you were present in the Forum Ice Arena for this one. So we want to kick it off with Thoughts on the game against the Hull Jets?
Yeah, I think for 2 periods we absolutely battered them. I can't think of any other phrase. We played them off the ice. You said they scored against the run of play, and I think if you looked that phrase up in a phrase dictionary, you would see that goal, because they hadn't been anywhere near our net until that goal, and we're still not sure he scored anyway. So you know, it was just one-way traffic. And you know, Andy Dentith in his interview afterwards pretty much said the same thing. So for 2 periods we were absolutely battering them, and then the 3rd period, yeah, a little bit more even. Hull definitely came back into things a little bit, but no further additions to the score. So in all, a very comfortable evening's work for the Stars. It was quite awesome to see. I think the 2nd period especially was just one way. Again, I'm getting neck ache doing the whole looking one way thing. So yeah, really, really dominant.
Yeah, 29-9 were the shots in the middle period, and we outscored 3-0, just 3-0. And Jono, the scoring spread around this one. Good to see Callum getting a couple of goals. He's been, I think I called him the Swiss Army knife in the interview with Foz at the weekend, moving up and down the lines, and he's possibly his last weekend impersonating James Moss on that second line and chipping him with 2+1, showing how valuable he's going to be over the next few weeks as well.
Yeah, Callum's got a massive role to play this year. He's massive. He's a massive centre. He wins a lot of face-offs. But in winning a lot of face-offs, it means we have the puck a lot. But also he can move. He can play. He can move the puck very well, and he scores. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time, which he did last year. He just didn't get the rub of the green last year. But this year he's finding the net. He scored a couple of pretty goals Sunday night, and yeah, he's going to be huge going down the stretch. Yeah,
and he's up to 9 on the season on goals, and say good to see him the confidence back in front of net. We talked about the blue line on Saturday. We added Joe Walls to make a 5-man rotation, and got to give Joe a mention. He's, because of his work situation, he's playing without being able to train regularly. So I would say if that's Joe Walls playing without training, then if we can get him some training sessions, he's going to be even better, because Joe, on Sunday in particular, Joe was immense, and he had an assist, had some chances. He seemed to be everywhere, both ends of the ice, and if we can get him some training ice and sort out his work situation, Carol, he's going to be a huge part of the blue line since he converted to D sometime last season.
I can't say enough how much I enjoy watching Joe play. He is not fazed by anything, and I think what always sticks in my mind, I hate to go back to these times, but every time we went to Whitley Bay, when they were on that daft run of beating us every single time, there was times we used to go up there, and the only player who looked like he was enjoying himself because he didn't care was Joe Walls. And he plays with that attitude every single game. He does not care who's in front of him. He's going to enjoy himself, and he's going to just do his thing. And yeah. I love watching him. I really do. I think he's been a revelation since he was converted to blue line. But you can still see that forward in him, because he does get forward a lot. And yeah, we are a better team with Joe Walls in it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And great to see. He's taking the mantle when he can. We talked about goalies. Jono, one of the coolest, calmest men in the rink on Sunday was probably Jacob. Long stretches of doing nothing, and then the 3rd period in particular, just decided that Hull's just the glove was out, the blocker was out. It's just mad saves, 19 saves in the 3rd period, after being a passenger for a lot of the first 2 periods. So I think we've said before, Jacob's, the season he had with the Bucks last year has done him the world of good. And he is a different goalie to what we saw in the Stars uniform a year or 2 ago.
Absolutely. He's been great for us so far this year. And what the thing that's been most impressive is how dominant the Stars have been when called upon, when the visiting team or the opponent team gets a chance, Jacob's ready. Doesn't matter if it's been a 10-minute spell without a shot on goal. If the visiting team get a chance on him, he's ready. And that's what's very impressive. He's so calm, he's so cool. I remember watching him in the playoff final last year, and nothing fazed him at all. He was just chilled, relaxed, just another day at the office kind of guy. And when the big chances come along, out comes the glove, out comes the blocker. Not fazed, great netminder, and I think he'll be playing a big part come this huge run that we're on now. And I think if we get through it, he'll be one of the big reasons why we did.
Yeah. As Jono said there, Carol, he's got a bit of the Flav about him, hasn't he? Because Flav used to be like just nothing fazed him. Even if a goal went in, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, fine, business," and just back at it. And Jacob's kind of got that kind of mentality about him, which is great for a goalie to have.
It is, because goalies generally are a bit weird. And I mean that in the best possible way, but goalies usually are a bit strange. But for whatever reason in Billingham, we just have the chilled ones. We've had Flav. Mark Watson was pretty chilled. And now Jacob's in that same mould. It's manana. I said, I'm going to be ready whenever you throw it at me. So just bring it on, bro. So yeah, he is from that classic Billingham mould. Not a mental head case like some goalies seem to be.
Yeah, no, it was great to see another huge full team performance, and the 6-1 result bears that out. Just a quick one on the weekend as a whole. 2 home games. We know it's not easy for supporters in the current climate to come to 2 games in a weekend, but the attendances across the weekend were really good, and you couldn't really differentiate that much between Saturday and Sunday. It was great to see the stands continue to be fairly full for the games, and as this run continues, as we get towards the business end, I'm sure it's going to ramp up as it did last year. But huge performance from the fans in the stands this weekend, Carol.
Yeah, I mean, we were helped a little bit by no kickball. There was international break for the 75th time this season or whatever it is. So we're blessed in that respect, in that there was no competition from Middlesbrough. But yeah, it's fantastic to see in this economic times that people can bring themselves out for 2 games on a weekend, and it's so much appreciated by the lads. And for them to be bringing the noise as well, it just really does help the guys on the ice to keep that intensity up, and everybody's playing their part.
Yeah, and John, we have supporters hat on as well. Your supporters club hat on. The numbers continue to grow. It's even after the last 2 or 3 years, we're still finding people who are coming to Billingham as newbies. We're attracting new fans, and obviously the stuff on the ice keeps them coming back for more. So we're seeing new faces, and we're keeping them coming back to the forum.
Yeah, I think like all the zones are being rewarded. The lads on the ice are being rewarded with huge crowds and crowds cheering after them. But the fans are being rewarded with an absolute fantastic product on the ice. I don't think there's a more entertaining team out there than us. I think we play the best brand and the best style of hockey. And the fans are really enjoying it. And they're showing that by turning up week in, week out. And even in these tough situations where it's 2 home games, they're putting their hands in the pocket and they're supporting the lads, and they're supporting the club and the supporters club as well. It can be an expensive do, and we're all grateful.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. So well done to everybody who came along to the Forum Ice Arena this weekend. Very much appreciated from everybody at the Billingham Stars. And next home game a couple of weeks away. Obviously, you can go to Blackburn on Sunday if you wish. I've spoiled the surprise of the next home game. But yeah, we get the big travelling support as well, which is also huge for the guys on the road. But yeah, a huge weekend on the ice, 2 fantastic results, 6 more points. We'll do the standings very, very shortly, but we'll leave the on-ice action there for the time being, and take a little break. We'll come back in a moment. A few days ago, Carol and I had a chance to speak to a new friend of the pod and a new team for us to keep an eye on. NIHL South Division 2's newbies, the Cardiff Canucks, have their first season currently in action. And a few days ago, as I say, Carol and I spoke to their director of hockey. This is Trevor Hendrikx. Time for our interview here on Starcast. And from talking to Martin Peters and Hayden Hunter a couple of weeks ago about the NIHL and the coming together of the North and the South, we've decided to venture into the NIHL South, and one of our new clubs. Delighted to be joined by the Director of Hockey from the brand new Cardiff Canucks. It is Trevor Hendrikx, and Trevor joins us from the Hendrikx Arena. Hi, Trevor. Thanks for joining us here on the Starcast.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hi.
Pleasure is all ours. Just a general, obviously, a few weeks into the season, a brand new team into the NIHL South Division 2. How's things with the Cardiff Canucks at the moment?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it was obviously a lot to kind of get this all going. And with us having such a younger team, there was a lot of growing pains that we dealt with at the start of the season. But we're in a very good place now. I mean, these kids have been training every day for the last few months, so I think we're kind of hitting our stride, and it's real exciting.
Yeah, we'll talk about the league in a bit more depth later. But the Canucks, as I say, a brand new team, but it's more than just the team, isn't it? You're trying to do a whole kind of hockey school, almost hockey academy in Cardiff with the Canucks, and it's kind of a whole hockey experience for those players.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with my background and growing up in Canada, I mean, this type of setup was everywhere. But with the the Hendrikx Arena here, I have a facility here that I've built before I even thought of any of this stuff. But I have a synthetic ice pad and a gym that we share with the Devils here. And I kind of always thought there was something more that we could do with it, and all these sort of pieces started coming together. And through my hockey camps, a lot of the kids that I had coached for 4 or 5 years were kind of getting to that age of senior hockey. And as I kind of got used to the surroundings of it, I kind of started to see that there wasn't really much of a good pathway for these kids, and that's kind of where it brought me to the Canucks. I wanted to create something professional and that's going to actually develop them and turn them into the players they can be.
Yeah. Because like I say, you've had that facility, you've been doing your Hendrikx hockey, your hockey school, your skills camps and things like that, working on kind of skills development. So what was the driver, and kind of how did you go from just doing the camps to doing the full on, I'm going to run a brand new club?
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess you can maybe say it's a bit of a natural progression, but it's it's a whole different thing doing hockey camps and lessons and stuff like that to a whole team and coaching a team and putting a team together. But it was a big challenge. It was something that once I kind of dug my teeth into it, I really wanted to move it forward. And at the end of the day, it's about developing the next generation of elite players. And it's my kind of personal belief that training once a week or doing things like that is not going to put you in the best position to get to those levels. Because I speak to a lot of kids and I ask what their goals are, and they all say they want to play in the elite league, but they have no idea of how they're going to get there. They just expect to be there. So this is kind of giving them a bit more of an insight as to what that looks like, and our schedule and our training resume is very, very similar to an elite league team. We train every day, we're in the gym every day, so it's kind of getting them used to that system. That's been the challenge at the start, but they're, like I said, they're doing really well with it now, and they're kind of into a routine, so it's going really well.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Carol?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the setup that you have there is kind of unique because it's something that you've seen as a gap and wanted to develop. But I did wonder if you kind of looked around the rest of the pyramid, the NIHL pyramid, and seen any of the other teams that you think are doing it right, and maybe have you taken any inspiration from any of those teams, or are you kind of just forging your own path with the Canucks?
To be honest, not really. And I've kind of spoke about this before. I think it kind of helped me a little bit having no idea really of the teams and the leagues and the structure and how things were. I just knew how I wanted it to be for us. And, after playing a few games now and seeing some of the teams, I'm actually, surprised at the level of play. It's better than I expected it to be. And it's interesting. I know I'm not sure if I'd have the same perspective as somebody else if I was very aware of all the teams and who does what and this, and get kind of involved in all the politics. I try to stay out of that stuff, and I think it's really benefited us because it's allowed us to kind of, you know, stay true to our mission and kind of keep our train going forward.
Cool.
I mean, it's all about that mission. So short term, obviously getting the Canucks off the ground, getting it established and getting it up and running. What's the longer term? Obviously, you've started in NIHL 2. There is a pyramid within the NIHL. So what is the longer term for the Canucks?
Well, I mean, for us, like our biggest thing, like, you know, I was asked this as well about what's a win for us, what's a loss for us, and you know, for us, you're seeing, you know, a lot of our players are getting opportunities with the Berkshire Bees and the National League, and you know, we're encouraging them to go. Like, you know, I have a great relationship with Doug there, and you know, Doug will call down and say, we need a player, we need, you know, 2 players, whatever it is, and you know, I'm happy to let them go, because that's the whole point of this, is to help those players get to those levels and provide them a platform to do it. So, you know, whenever the phone rings and it's one of our players are asking for, I you know, I say go, and that's what it's all about for me. You know, I could be selfish and say, oh, I want to keep these players for us so we can win, but it's not about that. I mean, the way that we're doing things, the wins will come, and they are coming. The last 2 games we've played really well. We've had 2 wins. That's just kind of a part of the whole process. But you know, that for us, that's the biggest thing, is just having these kids move on, and you know, giving them that opportunity to play at higher levels.
Yeah, I was going to say that partnership with Berkshire Bees, it shows it's development is kind of going to be at the heart of everything. It's development is your main goal of everything. So progression, development, getting these guys into the national division, if anything, into the elite league, if that ever comes about. Do you see any other partnerships? Are you concentrating on working with Berkshire, or are you kind of open to working with any club who kind of takes an interest?
Well, I mean, when we first kind of started this whole journey, you know, I had spoke to a few different teams, and you know, most clubs were interested in developing their own players within their own junior systems, which is fair enough, I guess. But the thing that attracted me to Berkshire was they didn't have a junior system below them, so my players weren't in competition with, you know, other junior teams and other junior players. So
Yeah.
it worked really well for us. And you know, I said this to the kids in the change room. I said, you know, every week I speak to the manager there, and you know, he just calls down if they get a player hurt, they need a player for a game. He's my first, or I'm his first call. So you're seeing these, you know, Josh Poole, you're seeing Sam Davis, you're seeing these players playing games. And I've said to the kids, I said, you know, you might be next. You know, if somebody gets hurt or they need a player, like they're calling us to take somebody up. So, you know, and it's true, and it keeps the kids hungry, because you know, every day they're thinking, geez, is it my turn? Is it my chance? And to me, that hunger, that sort of competitiveness drives the ship for them, really, because our training sessions are very intense, and you know, this kind of culture we've created is just kind of running itself now.
Yeah, and so that kind of farm system which is obviously prevalent in North American hockey, but not so much here in the UK. Is that something you'd like to see used more within the UK? And I know elite league teams have links with other teams, but they don't use it in the same way as a true farm system. So if clubs could develop a farm system with right through the levels, you think that could benefit clubs, but also benefit players in the pathway as well?
I think so. I mean, for me, it's you know, I see, you know, this is kind of why I started this. I saw some kids that I coached for a while, and you know, they've put a lot into their hockey, and then you know, they're going to a senior team, and they have ambitions of playing in the elite league, and you know, they train once a week, and you know, they train once a week, and they want and expect to go on and play in the elite league. But you know, you're up against a pretty tough wall there. You got some kids who've, you know, there's quite a few imports, and you know, it's a very tough league to break into. So, you know, you're up against Canadians who have played, you know, their whole lives hockey, Europeans, Americans, and then, you know, so the league's a lot different than it used to be, where, even when I played, so you have to be, the caliber is so much higher that these kids coming in have to be such a higher caliber just to even get in there. So my kind of ethos is you teach them as young as you can, teach them these things, teach them how to be a pro. Like, most of our team, over half our team is 16. And, they're learning how to be a pro. They're learning how to, get up in the morning at 6 o'clock and come and train when you don't want to, and go to the gym and do all these things, because, that's kind of half the battle with these kids who are, joining, elite league teams and stuff. It takes them a while just to get accustomed to the whole routine of things. And it's a lot when you're used to, training once a week on a Thursday night or a Tuesday night or whatever, whatever it is. And, I think that to me, that's gonna, because if I'm an elite league team and I have a 16-year-old kid who I can just plug in seamlessly into my team, why wouldn't you want to do that? You can have a young player with a lot of energy who knows how to play the right way. I mean, to me, that's kind of the way forward.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, you talk about how the game's maybe changed since you were a player. We're going to talk about kind of yourself, Carol. I don't know if you want to talk about that side of Mr. H.
Yeah, well, obviously we know of you, and we know what the stats say from your playing career, but a lot of people who are tuning into this podcast possibly won't know a great deal about your background. So I just wondered if you could give us a flavour of how your career developed. I know you Peterborough Pete's alumni, and a big background in the junior leagues in Canada, and then obviously a big career with Cardiff Devils. But if you could maybe just give our viewers a little bit of a flavour of your career to date.
Yeah, of course. I guess that's probably a good place to start is Peterborough. That's where I played when I was 16 to 21. That's where Liam Kirk played. And that was actually, now that I think about it, it's a very similar system to what I've created here. It's just the training every day with that same sort of age bracket. But I played there for 5 years, and in playing there, I got drafted to the Columbus Blue Jackets twice. Got to go to their training camps and played through their farm system for 3 or 4 years after signing my contract with them. Got to kind of live in every city in North America, really, moving around and seeing different places and being moved to different teams. And then, I kind of been everywhere and seen everything at one point. So I thought, I'd like to come over to Europe and try something different. And coming to the UK was kind of an easier choice, because, if you go to Germany or, other places, English isn't as a predominant language. So, coming here where everybody speaks English was a lot easier. It's I played a few years with the Devils, and, when I was here, I did, I fought a lot, and it's funny when people bring me up here, because a lot of people just saw the fighting side of things when I played here. But if you look over my career, I was a different player everywhere I played. So when I was in Peterborough, I was a power play type player, and kind of wherever I went, I just kind of did what I needed to do to help the team. And when I was in Cardiff, I was in a certain role, and when I was other places, I was a different role. So I've been able to see a lot of the world and play a lot of different roles. So I think that really helps in my experience, and helps me help these kids get to where they want to be.
Yeah, certainly that enforcer role is possibly what a lot of people will know you from here.
Yep.
But it is interesting to hear how you have had those different roles in hockey, and obviously that's a benefit to the guys that you're coaching now.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, because when I first started playing in Peterborough, I was an offensive defenseman, and I maybe wasn't ready to quite be playing there, and I didn't play very much. So my coach at the time, I noticed he seemed to reward his players if they fought, and my goal just wanted to get on the ice more. I thought, I'll fight somebody, and I did, and I played more. So, and in that was the first fight I think I'd ever had in my life. having that fight, I did pretty well, I guess, by fighting standards. And then it became, oh, Trevor's pretty good at that, and he's willing to do that. So it kind of follows you around wherever you go. But my initial kind of thing with doing it was just to play more. And I did that a few more times that year, and then once I got the playing time, then I kind of stopped fighting as much and focused more on the playing. And being drafted by Columbus, you get. Sometimes you get instruction from them as far as what they want you to do, and every year it was something different. This year we want you to be a power play guy, be offensive, score some goals, show us you can play. This year, maybe we want to see more physical play, maybe we want to see a few more fights. So every year it was constantly figuring out what I could do to help the team and what was being asked of me. And like you said, when I was here, a lot of people know me for a certain thing, but that wasn't the only thing I could do.
Yeah, I mean the fighting questions is a whole separate conversation about the role of fighting and how it's changed over the years. But that's for another time perhaps. But when did the passion for kind of the skills work, the development work, the coaching work, when did that come about in yourself, Trevor?
Well, it kind of came about really when I finished my playing days, really. Every summer, when I would be back in Canada, that was my summer job, was working at other people's hockey schools and helping develop other people's kids. And it was something that I'd always done. I had done it so much that I thought, well, why don't I take a chance and do my own hockey school? I know how to do it. And that's kind of how it started. It started here. Actually, sorry, I started back home in Canada, and then I brought it over here to Cardiff when I came. And it's just kind of slowly grown and grown and grown. And so is my passion for it. I mean, it's really cool to be able to share your experience with an up and coming player and actually help them and see what you've said help them. Like, to me, it's very rewarding, because a lot of these kids they're just missing those little things, those little details that people like myself can help them with. So that kind of really steers me on and just keeps my passion going, because just being able to help these kids get to where they want to go is awesome.
Yeah. So like, if you see one of your guys get taken up by the Bees, for example, and do something in the national division, that's kind of job done as far as you're concerned, because that's what you're training the guys to do.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, like, even if you look at, I think 2 weekends ago, we played in Solent, and the Bees called and they wanted Josh Poole for the weekend. They had 2 games and they wanted Josh Poole, and Josh is one of my best players. So I think a lot of people would probably say no, and they'd want to keep them selfishly for their team so they can win. But the way that I think it should work is how it worked for us, really. We let Josh go, and then with Josh being gone, somebody else stepped up and took his position and played really well. And the Bees, he had a great game. We won our game, and everybody was happy. So, to me, that's kind of how it should work. And if you have that kind of constant sort of, people filling in for each other and giving other people opportunities, I think it works really well.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Back to the kind of the domestic and the Division 2 South. You've talked about you've won your last couple of games. We were talking to Hayden and Martin from the NIHL management a couple of weeks ago, and talking about the kind of the end of season, how the South and North are going to be coming together towards the end of the season. Do you keep an eye on other divisions?
Nope, not at all. I don't really. I kind of said this at the start. I pay attention to a point with the things I need to pay attention to, but I mean, I don't want to look too far ahead with things. And having a team with a lot of young players, I have enough on my plate with things to keep me busy with them. So, but no, I think trying to focus just day by day with things is working really well for us right now. And we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves, because we're still a work in progress, and don't want to think too far ahead.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. And anything from you, Carol, before we start wrapping up?
Yeah, I was going to come back to that Steel City showdown. the fact that it's happening, that we are having a North and South jamboree at the end of the season, do you see that as a positive for the development of the league? Do you think that's a motivating factor for the players as you get towards the business end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, you always want to have something to play for at the end of the day, and I think I don't know too much about it, but I think having it all in one spot is probably a cool idea, because I mean that's what the Elite League does as well, and that seems to be a fun weekend for everybody. So I think it's a good thing. As far as I mean, to think about us, really, I'm not really thinking that far ahead yet, but I'm hoping it'll be a big event for the league, and I'm not too familiar with what was done before that, but I don't know. It seems to be a good idea, and I guess we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Is there anybody we should be looking out for? Should you guys make it? I mean, you've mentioned Josh and Sam already, but if we travel to Sheffield and Cardiff are part of that playoff finale, would you care to throw some names at us to watch out for?
Well, I mean, one of the big names probably is Max Beerbreyer. I mean, he's pretty much a legend over here, and especially in Cardiff. Having him on the ice is a cool thing for a lot of people to see. He's still there, but I find our team is a very good group of players, and we're more of a team than having really individual kind of standout players. We have some good players, but that's kind of a bit of my ethos as well, is I want us to be a team. I don't want to have one player going end to end scoring all the goals. We want to work as a team and develop the team sort of concept first. So, I think if we ever were to get to that point and you were watching, I think, it'd be an exciting game to watch, because I can only imagine what a lot of these kids are going to be like at that point in the season. I mean, the amount of training that we've already done is probably more than most teams will do all season. Like these kids have had, all of September, all of October, training every single day. And, you think about November, December, January, February, all these other months of learning and skating and competing. And I'm excited to see what they're going to be like at that point of the season, because I'm starting to see the real benefits now, and they're really coming together. So it's exciting for me to think of what they might be like then.
Yeah. No, it sounds good, and something for us to keep an eye on from afar. We'll certainly keep an eye on the progress of the Cardiff Canucks. Trevor, it's been great having you on, having a chat about all things the Cardiff Canucks. Wish you well for the rest of the season and beyond. And who knows, we may indeed see you at the showdown in April. But well for the season, and we'll catch up again soon.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
So big thank you to Trevor Hendrikx for giving his time and sitting in the bar at the Vindico Arena. I recognise it very, very well. But giving his time and talking about his project with the Cardiff Canucks, and obviously wish them well for their current season. Jono obviously couldn't join us, unfortunately, for the interview in live. But your thoughts on listening to Trevor Hendrikx?
Yeah, it was fascinating chat with Trevor. And certainly something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on over this season and years to come. And what a thing he's trying to do there. He's trying to bring the North American lifestyle here to British hockey for British kids, living, eating, sleeping, drinking ice hockey 7 days a week, which I think other clubs in the country are going to be keeping a very close eye on as well. And it could be something we start seeing a lot more of popping up around the country. But yeah, fascinating to hear him talk, and he's interested in all he's interested in is just production of these kids. He doesn't want to see these kids scoring 100 points for Cardiff Canucks. He wants them developing and then going off to the National League or the Elite League, scoring their points.
Yeah, no, 100%. And development was a big word with him, wasn't it, Carol? I think he gave an example of when even the team captain was wanted by the Bees. And he said, "Yeah, off you go. You'll be better for your development playing there than traveling to Invicta or wherever it was we're playing it." Well, it was on it was down to Solent. I remember going to Solent, and he said, "No, off you go. Do your thing with the national division because it's better for your development." He's very set in what he wants to do, and he's going to kind of do it his way.
Absolutely. I think I might have asked him that direct question if he was looking at any other teams for inspiration. Nope. He's going to do his own thing. He's going to bring his own experience to bear, and he's going to bring these kids on in a way that he thinks is going to benefit them. And all power to him. I think that my particular interest was when he was talking about the different roles that he himself had fulfilled during his hockey career, and how he was able to bring that experience into his mentoring now. Because obviously, from a British hockey point of view, we all kind of know him as an enforcer. But that's not always been his game. He's been asked to play lots of different roles during his career, and now he's able to pass on that knowledge, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and he's passing that on to his players to kind of be that tool that can do many jobs. And then the more you can do as a player, the more roles are available to you. So great to catch up with them, and say we'll keep an eye on the Canucks as their season progresses. I know we tried to get him into talking about playoffs, but he wasn't really bothered about results. He's just bothered about developing players. And it's like, no, Trevor, really, you want to play for these playoffs? No, I don't think I do. I just do my player thing. Yeah, I'm cool. So thanks to Trevor. Hopefully not the last of those kind of interviews. We'll try and bring you this season with the Starcast and widen the horizons around the NIHL and beyond. So thanks to everybody. I hope you enjoyed that one. Back onto our regular features program, and we look at the results from our division from last weekend. Results and tables, thanks to the England Ice Hockey media graphics. We'll just put that up on the screen so we can read off them. So from Saturday last weekend, Sheffield 3, Solihull 4, Billingham Widnes we know about, and Hull Jets getting their home form back where it was. 5-1 win over the Nottingham Lions. And then Super Sunday hosted big games right across the division. Whitley Warriors 12, Deeside Dragons 2, Billingham Hull, as we know, Solihull 3, Blackburn 8, huge for league and cup purposes. We'll talk about that in a second. Widnes 2, Sheffield 5, as Carol mentioned, a home loss for Widnes. Sheffield cementing their place in the top 8 for now. And then Leeds 1, Nottingham 7 rounded out Super Sunday. Who wants to start, and why are we going to start in Solihull, Carol?
I'm going to start. I wonder how you knew that. No, I'm starting with Solihull because that result for them on Sunday, I think we might have flagged this last week, but that result for them on Sunday, they should have won that. They needed to win that, and now I think their season's popped. That's them out of the cup. That's them pretty much out of the running for the league. And what have they got to aim for? Playoffs? I'm not sure about that one either. So I think Solihull in the middle of November might be looking at a dead season, and that for them is pretty bad. It's huge for Blackburn. I think Blackburn are going to be the team to watch. I think I said that right at the beginning of the season, but then I had them as winning the league at the beginning of the season, and how I don't know anything, do I really?
Yeah.
But I do think Solihull needed to win Sunday. They needed to win it, and they've lost it, and I don't think there's any way back.
Yeah, Blackburn on a bit of a run, so good luck to whoever plays them 3 times in the next 3 weeks. The fixture list is what it is. Jono, we highlighted this last week, the importance of the league and the cup points in that fixture, and as Carol says, it puts Solihull out of cup competition. Blackburn and Hull qualify from Group B, and 6 defeats in the league for Solihull, and as Carol says, it's difficult for them to mount any sort of league challenge from there.
Yeah, I think we said last week that was going to be a big weekend for the Barons. Well, I certainly did anyway. And when I saw that result against Sheffield, alarm bells were ringing very, very quickly. I was very worried for them. It's not a scoreline that you'd expect a Solihull Barons away to Sheffield. And they got the win. I know a win's a win, but you'd have expected to be a lot more comfortable on that. And then back onto home ice, and it just wasn't meant to be for them. And it looks like, as Carol said, I think their chase for silverware is as good as done in mid-November.
Yeah. Huge result there. Obviously, Phil Mulcahy took a knee injury during that game, so he's out for the time being. So wish him a speedy recovery. Same too for Gary Simpson of D-side. Took a hit in the start of second period at Whitley Bay. And obviously he's out as well. So wish both of them a speedy recovery. D-side, Jekyll and Hyde doesn't even begin to cover it, does it, John? I mean, they had the starting goalie started at Hillheads, but he didn't last the full game, and 6 goals in the third period for the Warriors, and we possibly expect the Warriors to edge that one at Hillheads, but 12-2 is a surprise score.
Yeah, it's an absolute hammering. I think we all probably did have the Warriors just to edge that. It's a hard place to go. But a full-strength D-side Dragons team is more than capable of winning there, as they did a few weeks ago. And they didn't go full strength. And they've been caught out and paid the ultimate price. They've got absolutely battered and probably ended any hope of them putting a league title charge in.
Yeah. Matt Croyle played the first half of the game, 5 goals on 36 shots. 36 shots in 35 minutes, and then Ollie Booth finished off 7 goals on 22 shots, including 6 in the third period. That's a bit of an ouch. Phil Edgar, 4 goals, 4 assists. Dean Holland, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points, 8 points. So the top line's doing their business for Whitley as well. So they're kind of low key, coming in a bit of form as well. Come there as the fixtures tend to kind of ramp up around this time of year.
Yeah. Go on, you can go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think they obviously started the season quite well, and then a few rough fixtures came along for them, and they didn't travel so well. But on home ice, they seem to be full strength and as strong as anyone, and will be very, very tough to beat on their own ice. And like I say, they're picking up a bit of form just in time for when you know who plays them.
Yeah. It was obviously we'll look at the tables, and obviously the cup will look a bit funny because there's still a lot of cup games in our group, mainly because of the way we play Whitley Bay right at the end of the year, which is the way they wanted it. The powers that be wanted the Christmas super duper double header. League table looks very, very good for the Billingham Stars. 15 games, just the 14 wins, just 112 goals, and 42 points. A 12-point lead on Blackburn, who have a game in hand. And then the Hull Jets and D-side rounding up the top 4. And then you've got Whitley. Solihull was here with their 6th defeat. They're going to be mired around the mid-table area, you feel. And the Nottingham and Sheffield rounding out the playoff places before Leeds and Widnes starting to get cut adrift at the bottom. In terms of our cup table, we mentioned Cup Group B is now sorted in terms of the top 2 qualifying, Blackburn and Hull. The final order still to be decided the last couple of games. But in terms of Group A, D-side still top with 15 points. Billingham have only played 4 cup games and they've won them all 12 points. Then the Whitley Warriors, Nottingham Lions and Sheffield have already completed their cup schedule. So Billingham have only played 4 cup games. We have 2 games against Whitley Warriors at the back end of December. And then the away games at Nottingham and D-side round out our cup schedule. So 4 cup games in the next 6 weeks or so to round out the end of the calendar year. So a cup semi-final, if Billingham get through against Hull or Blackburn. Blackburn have the edge, so you'd expect Blackburn to win Group B. So if Billingham win Group A, it will be a repeat of last year's semi-final, Carol.
Yeah. I'm sure Hull will be delighted with that. We've had their number this year, and in the cup semi-final last year, we definitely had their number. So it's too early to tell because we've got half of our cup games left to play, which is a nonsense. But we'll see. That's how it's looking that it's going to be. But we'll not take anything for granted just yet. I'd be more than happy with Hull as a semi-final. Hull probably less so, but we have to take each game as it comes. Cliche alert, and then and see what transpires.
Yeah. Anything on the cup from you, Jono?
No, pretty much what Carol was saying there. I'll probably take any one of them on. I'm not really that bothered anymore. I know how good we are. And I think there's probably an attitude in that changing room of we've got unfinished business in the cup. 2 times beaten finalists now, and I think it's one the lads really want.
Yeah, I know Mike certainly mentioned it in his post game on Sunday that yes, we're league champions, but there were 2 trophies that we didn't get last year, so they are very much mindful of last year can be improved upon. So I think if that's the attitude, then all power to the elbow. Next weekend, then we'll do the fixtures quickly, and then talk about Stars' next fixture, which is just a 1-game weekend on Sunday. So Saturday's games coming up: a lunchtime Nottingham versus Whitley at the NIC, and then Hull Jets versus Solihull Barons, Leeds Knights versus Deeside Dragons, and then another 5-game thread on Sunday: Deeside Dragons versus the Widnes Wild, Whitley Warriors and the Leeds Knights, Sheffield and the Hull Jets. The late game is Nottingham Lions versus Solihull Barons, and then the game for your Billingham Stars, 6 o'clock, Planet Ice Blackburn, is the Blackburn Hawks versus the Billingham Stars. So we had Blackburn, the very first game of the season. Haven't seen them since. We'll see them 3 times in the next 3 weeks, and that'll be the regular season done and dusted between the 2 teams. But as we said in the roundup there, Blackburn are the kind of form team in a second spot, Carol, and it's going to be a huge, if Nick Rothwell were around, it would be a huge, double huge weekend. It's just going to a big game all around.
Yeah, it's the biggest game of the weekend by a long way. From even with Super Sunday, I think, given our recent history in Blackburn, which is schizophrenic to say the least, we either do really, really well or really, really badly. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground here. So, yeah, if both teams are playing at their full potential, we should edge it, because I do think we are the better team. However, that comes with a massive caveat, and there's a few reasons why I say that. One, our form in that ring, like I say, hugely schizophrenic. So last season we win both league games, and then we get absolutely creamed in the cup. It's just how it goes. And the other thing is that Blackburn do have game changers in their squad, and the biggest one of those is Adam Barnes. So if you've got any of those guys, Adam Barnes is National League level, and if he's firing, you just don't know, dear. It's genuinely, at this point, it's too hard to call. We are missing players, vital players. So I'll get our excuses in early, just in case there's anyone from Solihull watching. But we're going there not quite at full strength. I still believe we've got a team capable of beating them.
Yeah. As Carl says, Jono, the Hawks have got a lot of offense, as has the Billingham Stars. Obviously, Barnes is scored 14. McKinney's up to 6 goals now since he joined them. Jacob Lutwich is on 16 goals, leads their goal total so far. So they've got offensive options. So plenty to worry about for a team who are missing D-men from the action, but possibly, I think we mentioned it offline before. Arguably, you could say because the two teams are so offensive, it's going to be important for Ben Keddy in Blackburn and for Jacob Hammond in Billingham. The goalies are going to be huge. I mean, they're always an important part, but the goalies on Sunday are going to be huge.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I've said this somewhere before that I think with the firepower that are on both teams, it's whose netman is going to stand huge. Ben Keddy has been integral to them since he's been there. Since he's been their out and out number one, and we've got Jacob, who we mentioned at the top of the show there, who just seems unflappable. He's as cool as you like, and we're going to need him massively in this game. And I think it will be a case of which goalie stands tallest at the end of the day. But also going back to some things that Carl said there, is we've just got to remember how good we are and remember the good stuff that we've done there. We've been there. We've won the league. We know how to win there, and we just need to go back on those good memories.
Yeah, no, 100%. we mentioned Ben Kelly. He had a big game in Solihull, 44 shots for 3 goals, so 41 saves against the Solihull Barons. So Kelly, and we know what Ben Kelly can do. He did us in the cup final and in the playoffs. He was huge for Blackburn's run in last year when he got himself into the established number 1, and he's continued that form this season. So a bit of a goalie duel for 2 very offensive teams, going to be an interesting mix. And it's just one of those games. Blackburn away is kind of a feeling in your stomach, isn't it? It's kind of a. I know we're top of the league and 12 points clear, but it's Blackburn away. It's like, ooh, it's kind of that kind of feeling.
Yeah. It's quite an intimidating place to go. It's cold. The atmosphere can be very intimidating depending on how many people they get in the rink. It just is one of those places where you look at the fixture list and you go, oh, Blackburn away. Oof. Sunday night, fabulous. But all that's actually, if you look at it from Blackburn's point of view, they probably like it like that. You don't want an away side coming in feeling all comfy and all that. So it's probably beneficial to them, but it's not the most pleasant place to go.
Yeah. And I would say the regularly for the fans who are travelling, if you're travelling over to Blackburn, travel safe. Travel well and be loud and proud. And when you're going over the M62, make sure you're checking on Facebook the house in the middle of the motorway, as is the law. But yeah, it's a big travel over there. But I know we'll get the big numbers traveling with the big red machine as they do. We'll talk about the other away game shortly when we come to any other business for the double header weekend. But it's just going to be a huge game, and obviously be glued to social media on Sunday. I can't be there in person. I've been to Blackburn once, and that was enough. That was a joke, Blackburn fans. Well, it wasn't really.
It's the cold. It's cold in Blackburn. If you've never been before, travelling fans,
it's cold. I don't mind it. I don't mind the place.
I'll put a couple of pairs of socks on, man. It's freezing.
But you still wear flip-flops there, wouldn't you?
I have done, yes. I have done. Yeah.
So we're heading to Blackburn just as the weather takes a turn for the -3 here in the northeast and beyond. So that'll be lovely travelling over. But yeah, huge game. Billingham will have Mossy back, but Darren Statsfield still suspended. Obviously, Ben Greenhalgh, as we say, still suspended. So back light on D. We'll see what the travelling D core looks like. But like you say, Jono and Carol, you've both said we just need to be confident in what we've done so far this season. I think we've improved since we beat Blackburn on opening weekend. We've improved as a team. I'm sure they think they have improved as a team as well since that weekend. So it's going to be a good one to watch for a neutral. Not that there'll be many neutrals in Blackburn on Sunday night, but around the league, people will be taking notice, I'm sure. So a big game. If you are travelling, as I say, enjoy it, wrap up warm and be safe, but be loud for your big red machine. We'll leave the hockey talk there. Unless anything else to say about Blackburn on Sunday. Any other business? We had an eye yesterday on Sheffield. We mentioned Robert Dowd earlier on, and Carol's wearing the beanie hat. The Sheffield Steelers completed their Champions League action in Berlin last night. Lost on the night 4-2 to go down 9-5 on aggregate. But a huge performance against one of the powerhouses of Europe, the Ice Bar in Berlin. Great travelling support from the Steelers as well. I think it was 500 odd made the trip over to Berlin, including some Billingham players that there's a few Billingham people went over as well, obviously looking for splat. But no, great performance over the season in the Champions League, but just coming up short against the Ice Baron. I know, Johnny, you were in Berlin a few weeks ago, but this one wasn't at the big shiny arena. This was at the old barn, which is a bit more character for those who like the hockey that way. I know we're talking about Blackburn as a rink, but the old barn in Berlin's got a bit of character about it as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's about 10,000 less than the big Uber arena. which I'm sure the home crowd would have had bouncing. I'm surprised the place doesn't fall apart the way that fan base goes on, because they are mental.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lovely old barn, and it's a shame they don't play a lot more there than what they do. I know they play the odd league game there during the season, obviously with Uber Arena being rented out for various other reasons, and some other the German teams don't have massive followings, so they do play the odd game there, and they play a lot of the CHL there. But yeah, fantastic old barn and the best fan base in Europe. I know the Steelers like to try and claim that tag, but they're not even close. They're not even in the top 10, to be honest. But that fan base in Berlin is mental, and I recommend anyone going out there to watch a game.
And we talk about our division. We struggle with 10 teams isn't enough, and we see the same team again and again. If you go back in history, it's well worth checking out. Before they were the Ice Baron, they were Dynamo Berlin, the old East German team, and before unification, they played in the East German League, and there were 2 teams in the East German League. So that was I don't know if repetitive is the word, but certainly a rivalry to end all rivalries. So if you want to check out the story of the East German Hockey League, it's well worth some internet research to dig around on that one. But yeah, well done to the Steelers.
It's come from a fantastic place as well. Like their level of hockey has come from the depths of down there. Like it was as bad as the Elite League was when that was the BNL or whatever you want to call it. It was terrible, and they made some decisions. The back of the German lads, and they were a powerhouse in Europe now, and they have many guys going to the NHL now. So it shows it can be done.
Yeah. No, well worth checking out, and so well done to the Steelers for their efforts in Europe this season. Cardiff Devils as well. We mentioned the Cardiff Canucks earlier. Cardiff Devils had their European, is it the Continental Cup they're in? And they've qualified for the super final in January. So we'll find out where that is. So well done to Pete Russell and the Cardiff Devils again, flying the flag. I think it's the 3rd year in a row they've made the super final in the Continental Cup. So well done to Cardiff Devils. We mentioned Ben, his suspension. Any other club news before we go on to our generic? Any other business? I don't think I've missed anything this year, have I?
No.
This week, today, yesterday.
It's all been rather quiet in the last week, and maybe some news to come out Saturday, but who knows?
Yeah, no, we'll keep an eye on things. Our usual, any other business than Jono? I know you're stick to the pod this week. Obviously, you're reflecting on Super Sunday last week and the big games coming up this weekend. So well worth a listen, covering the division in more depth than we've been able to this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. A big episode this week. I stressed last week. Super Sunday was going to be a massive one for every single team that played, basically from 1st to 10th. So with it being a massive weekend, instead of having me just rabbling on my own, I've got Graham Hamilton over from Blackburn to come on and talk through the weekend's fixtures and give us a bit of an insight to what's going on over there as well before the big Billingham Blackburn game this weekend.
Yeah, no, that'll sound good. So check that out on Stick to the Pod. You'll find it on your socials and on where you get your podcasts from. Supporters Club hat on. We mentioned the fans and what have you. Another busy weekend on the Supporters Club table. Your new merch is going down a storm.
Yeah, it's been an absolute manic weekend with having 2 home games. The new sockies that we introduced, they're flying off. We've got orders coming out of our ears for them, which is great. It's great to see fans supporting the Supporters Club to support the club, which is fantastic. So if you do want your sockies for Christmas, you better get your orders in quick. Drop some messages on the social media, and the girls will help you get sorted. We dropped new merch good enough for GM Al Flav to buy a snood as well. Obviously, just in time for this winter snap that's finally arrived in the middle of November. So snoods there as well. They're going out well. And then the doggy bandanas seem to be flying off the shelf. And then I think Kay, one of our members, has put in the group last night, that there's even more merch coming. So hopefully all in time for the next home game. And then if that isn't all enough, we have the Christmas raffle as well. So thank you for the businesses and people who have give prizes. But yeah, it's time to get your tickets because it's fast approaching to Christmas.
Yeah, no, busy all time, and we mentioned the this weekend's Blackburn game, but in a couple of weeks we've got the home and home with Blackburn, and we're trying to fill a bus to take some more Stars fans down for a road trip, Big Red Machine style. So anyone wants to travel on a coach, again, get in touch with the supporters club.
Yep, yeah. We know how big this run's going to be, and I think having a bus full of people to support the lads in a tough weekend, in a weekend that, well, I don't want to say you can win a championship, but it'll be a huge leap towards it if we can come out of that weekend with 6 points. So let's get that bus full and support the lads home and away.
Yeah, no, great to see, and if we can get the bus full, even better. Carol from Media HQ. Last week we spoke with Sam Dowd, which was good to catch up with Sam. Obviously we had a little clip of his goal from Leeds. Great to hear how he's settling in with the Bucks and obviously playing up to the Stars. I think we're going to get Callum this week on training talks. He was supposed to be man of the match on Sunday, so he's supposed to be post game. But as we were setting up the cameras, he just ran away because had somewhere to be with Rob. So we'll get Callum on Thursday as training talks. Playlists this week we had 2 home games, so we had 2 playlists. So if people want to check out Spotify, 2 different playlists, I think it's fair to say. We had Mark Turnbull Saturday and Ian Brown Sunday.
Ian, or was it? If you look at social media, somebody else is claiming Ian Brown's playlist, but we'll leave that for another day.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed both, but Mark's especially had some top tunes in it. So I'm really enjoying seeing the personalities coming through in these playlists. Actually, I mean, granted, some of them haven't got a bloody Scoobies who they've picked, but that's just because I'm old. But I'm really enjoying them. It's something different to listen to.
Yeah, no, it's been good seeing them and putting them together and adding them where we can. We had the game night playlist. We had Sadie's road trip playlist. We've said we'll do a media playlist later in the season sometime, which will just be Big in Japan and Jean-Michel Jarre. I think that'll do us. But yeah, it's been good. If people can go on Spotify, search for Billingham Stars IHC, you can see all of the playlists from the season so far. I don't think we've got anything else planned media-wise, not that I'm aware of. If I am aware, then I've forgotten. Yes, Carol.
The home from home with Blackburn. The away game is the sports bus. The home game is the Teddy Toss. Early heads up, guys. Teddy Toss time.
Excellent. Favourite weekend of the year. So that's Sunday the 8th of December. We'll do a usual reminder nearer the time, but toys in a clear plastic bag. And then when we give you the green light at the end of the first, it's when we give all of our musical royalties to Mr. Andrew Roachford. We play that over the speaker system and throw your toys over it's the only time we encourage you, well, apart from the tender, anyway, it's one of the only times we encourage you to throw things on the ice at the ice hockey. And it's hugely well received by the charities we work with as well. So great news on that. Teddy Bear Toss, 8th of December. We'll get that advertised. But I think we've kind of run our course tonight. It's been a good one. Nearly an hour of ourselves. And we've got Mr. Hendrikx as well. So a bumper edition. 2 big home games to talk about. And obviously the away trip with Blackburns is huge as well. We'll do it all again next week. Thanks to Carol, thanks to Jono, thanks to Trevor Hendrikx for popping in as well and giving his time. I hope you enjoyed that interview. But we'll be back very soon with the next edition from the Billingham Stars of Starcast.
This is Starcast, the official podcast of your Billingham Stars. Watch and listen for the very latest news and interviews from within the Big Red Machine.
And it's still recording because I haven't stopped it yet. Yay! Right, I can stop it now.
Sick.